if I was an actor, over the course of my acting career, I might get the opportunity to play many different roles. I might play the role of a cowboy. I might play the role of a policeman, a fireman, a lawyer, a criminal. Who knows? Now, in the same sense as if I was an actor, I would play many different roles. In the same sense, within here, within your brain, thought, or your thoughts, my thoughts, however you want to say it, thought plays many different roles within the mind. You know what I'm saying? So, if I could just list some roles which thought plays, here's a few roles. Look: desire, fear, anxiety, depression, excitement, worry, embarrassment. You know, all of these are simply just roles. Roles which are played out by thought. Now look, I get it. You know, this might be an unfamiliar expression to say that desire, fear, worry, to say that these are simply just roles might be unfamiliar to hear me express it like this. But look, generally this is what happens, you know. A feeling washes over us, a physical feeling. You know, for example, you might suddenly, a physical feeling might wash over you in the sense of suddenly you feel tightness in your chest, shortness of breath, butterflies in your stomach maybe. So physically, you might, a physical feeling comes over you, you know, and generally we're unaware that thought, the nature of your thinking process, is the culprit for this physical feeling which has manifested within your body. You know what I'm saying? And the trouble is, you know, if this feeling persists, so for example, the tightness in your chest, shortness of breath maybe, the butterflies, that uneasy physical feeling, if this persists from day to day, you might refer to this as an anxious feeling. If it persists, what happens then? We then make the claim, I have. So in this scenario, this is just an example I'm coming up with, by the way. I have. If this particular anxious feeling persists, we might make the claim, I have anxiety. And you know, I've come to see that this is wrong. It's wrong to make the claim, I have, because, again, desire, depression, fear, anxiety, these are just simply roles. And they're roles played by thought. Or in other words, thought is the culprit for these physical feelings. Anxiety. You know, again, you might be unaware, but you might think of yourself a certain way. You might have a mental image of yourself as being a certain way. Again, so in other words, you might think of yourself a certain way. You might think of yourself as being not as good as other people. You might think of yourself as being not very successful. You might think of yourself as You know, you might think of yourself as being ugly, whatever, you know. And if you think of yourself in this way, you know, and you go out into society, you go out to work thinking this way about yourself, you go out to social events thinking this way about yourself, naturally, if you're thinking that way about yourself, you might naturally feel this physical feeling of anxiety, you know. If you've got this thought about yourself and you live your day-to-day life through that and you're not even aware, you know. So, you know, ultimately what I'm saying is again, anxiety is just a role played by thought. Anxiety doesn't exist without thought. And the same goes for all the other roles which which I mentioned. Depression, fear, excitement, desire, worry. These are all simply roles. None of these roles exist without thought. Or none of these mental, emotional states, if we can call them states, exist without thought. I don't know if you've noticed this. Thought is the instigator. You know, maybe you're at work and someone's being rude in the office, and you begin thinking to yourself, I need to do something about this. I need to speak up. I need to shut this guy down. Some guy's being rude in the office, and you begin thinking to yourself, I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. So in other words, thought, your thought process, thought is playing the role of the instigator, instigating you to react to this guy who's being rude. So then maybe you do react to this guy. Maybe you act violently or aggressively in some way or another. You then leave that environment. Maybe you go home. And then your thoughts or thought plays the role of the conscience. So in other words, you begin thinking to yourself, I shouldn't have done that. It wasn't my place to speak up. Maybe I should have you know, you begin thinking all these things. I don't know if you've noticed this. So again, thought plays the instigator. And then once you've carried out the act, thought plays the role of the conscience. Thought is like a running commentary on your life. From the moment you wake up in the morning, as you go about your daily life, thought is like a running commentary within your mind. You've probably noticed this, or maybe you haven't. Thought will take you on an emotional roller coaster. If you're unaware of how thought operates, how subtle, you know, thought just creeps in and intercepts the happenings of your daily life. You know, thought will take you on an emotional roller coaster. And again, all these roles which I listed, these mental states, these emotional states, if you want to call them that, do they exist without thought? That's a question for you. Desire, fear, anxiety, worry, stress, excitement, embarrassment. Do any of these things exist without thought? Are they not all the byproduct of thought? That's something for you to see for yourself, you know. And look, as I said, as I said in the first video, in regards to mental health, to me, the only real mental health issue is that we're not aware of all the roles in which thought plays. We're not aware of how thought plays out all these roles in our mind. Thought is the culprit for all these physical feelings which can manifest within the body as a result of thought. We're not aware of all this, and that's the only true mental health issue to me. So if you see all this for yourself, not because I'm telling you, if you see for yourself all the roles that thought plays, that creates such a big change in itself. You might see what I'm saying, you might not. All the best. Take care.